Yeah.
Ryan High with the Birds, Philadelphia Eagles talk. We haven't been on in a few weeks, and here we are. This is 2 days before the Super Bowl. The Eagles are playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's just hard to believe. I'll just start off by saying, when we had these podcasts last year, it was amazing how much we just tore down Howie Roseman, the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, Jalen Hurts, this coaching staff. And a year later, Gannon, yeah. And a year later, here we are. So I think there's going to be quite a bit to talk about. We're just going to wing this as we go along. I am the Godfather. With me is the podcast chaplain, who we can't see, Jimbo. Will Seal the Deal Sealy.
What's up? What's up?
There you go. And last but not least, the Armenian Hammer.
Hi guys, for the record, I was the only one who said that the Eagles, they're going to go to the NFC Championship game.
You are.
And everybody was laughing at me. And now they went one step beyond that.
Yeah.
And they're going to win this Sunday.
You are. So we're
It's all right. It's all right. I'm just going to put it out there.
We're paying you homage.
For the million viewers that they're going to watch this video. And
we're going to have 2 million after you get done talking about it.
They got to watch and say, oh, yeah, Vahib.
I wasn't even sure they make the playoffs. They're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Lonnie went all out. He said he said the NFC Championship game. I remember that.
Yes. So, and I said against the Packers, though. I said against
the NFC Championship game.
Yes, and everybody was laughing.
So, but anyway, I guess there's so many things to break down in this game. I guess we'll start off with the X factors on both teams. I mean, the Eagles, if you put, all the position groups together, I would say that the Eagles are, ahead of everybody in the Chiefs in the position groups, except quarterback. And, it's so funny. Our quarterback just was voted second in the MVP voting. So, but obviously the X factor here is Mahomes and his high ankle sprain. And, you guys can maybe Will, you can lead us off and tell us a little bit about high ankle sprains, because you said that you had one or two of them when you played ball in high school.
Yeah, it's a very, very painful injury. And what I can tell you is you're really not going to have mobility, like pretty much in general. Like, you really can't move or cut on that ankle for, I want to say, like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like it's a very serious injury. Like, what they're going to do is they're going to tape his ankle up under his sock. He's probably going to wear an ankle brace under his cleat. And then they're probably, like you saw last week, they're going to tape the cleat up too. So it's basically like he's going to be moving basically like in a cast where there's no flexibility on that ankle.
How about numbing it? Are they going to numb it too?
Oh, I'm sure they will. They'll give him something. But I mean, I know it looked like he was mobile last week. And I think that's because, later in the game, like the adrenaline is just, it's pumping through him, and he's just, it looked like he was, but I'm telling you, he's not going to be able to move like he's 100%. Like, it's going to be so obvious. Like, you can kind of see it when he's throwing the ball. He's not putting any pressure on that foot, and he's throwing in real awkward positions. And I think he actually missed a throw last week. I think he underthrew the guy just because you could see he can't step into anything. So, I mean, that's going to be a factor.
One thing that it was really surprising, the last play before they kicked the field goal, he was running for his life, and that guy pushed him out of bounds. I'm sure that really aggravated that high ankle sprain too.
Mm-hmm. As well as aggravating the entire defense of Cincinnati with what that guy did when he pushed him out of bounds.
Yeah, that ligament basically, like right where the bottom of your heel is, it kind of secures it. So it's you're able to, move your foot loosely. Like if that's like torn or ruptured, even it's extremely painful. They say it's, it hurts more than if you like clean break a bone. A high ankle
Wow.
sprain it's very painful.
Yeah, and they said that at game time, it'll be exactly 22 days, which is basically 3 weeks
Yeah.
since he got that sprain. And it takes 6 full weeks for that thing to heal 100%. But if there's anybody that can play with a grade 2 high ankle sprain after only 3 weeks and do a really good job, it's definitely Patrick Mahomes. So I think they're banking on him big time. Let's just real quick go to the coaching staffs here. Andy Reid, who we're all very familiar with, was a coach in this town for, I believe it was 13 years. Never won the big game. Lost 1 Super Bowl, lost, I think it might have been 3 NFC championship games.
In
Very good
Philadelphia,
play.
it was 4 of them. He lost 4 of them, right?
Oh, he lost 4. Well, okay, counting the Super Bowl or just
Well, remember the first one was they played against the Rams in St. Louis, right?
okay, right.
That was the
Okay.
first game that they had a chance to win, but they didn't. One of the players got injured. One of the running back got injured at the beginning, or somebody. Remember that was the first one.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think the first one was when they lost to the Rams and they had a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
And the Rams were trying to repeat as Super Bowl champions when they had
Mhm.
that
Yep. And they went to the Super Bowl and they lost
greatest
to
show on turf.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they lost to New England
New England, yeah, that's the game where McNabb just took his good old time in the fourth quarter, and so many fans in Philadelphia were just so upset. But Reid deserves some of the blame for that as well. But I will say this, if you guys can remember, one great thing about Andy Reid is if you give him an extra week to prepare for a game, his record on bye weeks was beautiful. I mean, he had a great record during the bye week. And I can tell you guys, there is no way in hell that he wants to lose this game because he never did it in Philly. And he would love nothing more than to beat Philly in this game. So I am sure that he put every waking hour into the game preparation on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't know where you guys think there might be a coaching advantage here, but I will start off by saying, if you look at the experience factor, Kansas City has a major nod in the experience because of all the years that they have with Andy Reid and Spagnuolo, especially. And the Eagles have basically guys that have only been, in their positions for a couple of years. So I think you have to give Kansas City the nod there.
Well,
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's something I was thinking about all week, that all those coaches are, older on the back 9 of their career, but they've all been there before, done that. Whereas, we have the young staff, but on the flip side, Sirianni's out to prove something. When Andy Reid got that job as Chiefs coach, he pretty much fired Nick Sirianni, and because he was bringing in his own people. So Sirianni would have the chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, he
Prove him
does.
wrong.
That's a great point, Jimmy. Jimmy, while I got you, let's talk. And I know that you know a little bit about Spagnuolo, this defensive coach. He really, I'll tell you, when he was with the Giants, he did a number on the Eagles. I mean, he's going to come up with a really like a game plan that's really going to try to confuse Hurts and Shane Steichen. Do you see a real chess match going on here between Steichen and Hurts and Spagnuolo in this game?
I do. But I think Hurts is up for the challenge. I mean, I just think the Eagles had that chip on their shoulder. They've been, no one's given them any credit all year, and still in the Super Bowl. Like, I think Hurts is out to prove them wrong, and I think Sirianni is. I think Hurts and AJ Brown are going to have big games on Sunday.
Yeah. Anybody else like to?
For me, the wild card is Mahomes. That's it. If it was any other quarterback, this game would be like at least like -5 or -6. That's the only wild card that basically is such an amazing athlete that him by himself can win you a game. Other than that, I mean, Andy Reid, they could get the same thing when he was in Philadelphia. I mean, he went to the NFC Championship game 4 times and he lost 3 of them, right? He
Yeah.
went to the Super Bowl and he lost. So yes, he doesn't have a track record for going to the big game, but he doesn't have a track record of winning it. This is going to be his 4th Super Bowl, and he already lost 2 of them. And the one that he won, I mean, they were like overwhelming favorite too, right? The one
Well,
that
yeah, but
And
they,
they almost lost. that game.
they should have lost
They
that game.
almost-
They were
yeah, they
down
should've
by
lost
10.
that game.
Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
game in the 4th quarter where Mahomes scrambled and they had him sacked for a big loss on 3rd down. It was 3rd and like 17.
Yeah, and you make
And
up.
he broke free to his left and he found Tyreek killed way down the field, and that just turned the game around. Andy
Yeah.
Reid was about to lose that game too.
Yeah,
so-
so I'm not too worried about Andy. For me, the only guy is Mahomes. I mean, that guy
Yep.
is, that's
I
it.
agree 100%. If they lose this game, it's because Mahomes won them the game, basically. I agree 100%.
Vahe, what do you think the point spread would be if Mahomes was completely healthy?
Oh, that would be favorite.
That they would, yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah. I
think,
mean,
by 3?
because his strength is exposed our weakness. He can scramble. He's so accurate, and we like to play zone. I mean, he's just going to eat you alive. I mean, because we don't blitz, and give him time, he can basically take you apart. That's why, because he's injured, that's why the line is the Eagles' favorite.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm going to go back to you here. Let's discuss their Kansas City skill position, guys. I know we talked about this at length a little bit the last couple of days. The running back's going to primarily be Isaiah Pacheco, with Jerick McKinnon backing him up, and apparently Clyde, what is his name?
Edwards-Helaire.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who ran for over 100 yards against the Eagles last year, is most likely going to be active, but I don't know how much he'll play. And then they got Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Kadarius Toney as their wide receivers, and obviously Travis Kelce as the tight end. Do you see a lot? Let's start with the wide receivers. Do you see like the possibility that this wide receiver group can, just do a number on the Eagles' defensive backs?
I mean, honestly, I don't. They're not good enough receivers for our corners. Like, we have our secondary is stacked. I mean, the whole defense is stacked. It's a historic defense. But if you're gonna tell me Valdez-Scantling is gonna, kill us on Sunday, I would never believe it. I'd put money that's just not gonna happen. I mean, I think he's got 2 touchdowns for a little over, I think 300 yards. Juju only has 2 touchdowns for like 600 yards. And then Toney, who's always injured. My brother-in-law is a huge Giants fan. We've been watching him for years. He's injured on every play, so he's not gonna burn you. The guy is really Kittle, he's got over 1,300 yards, and I believe.
No, you mean Kelce.
Kelce. Yeah, he's got over like 1,300 yards, and I think 13 touchdowns, 12 or 13 touchdowns. But the thing is, the Eagles have been so good against tight ends all year long.
Good point.
They're gonna have an answer. So if the Chiefs want a chance in this game, they're gonna have to do something different. I think they're gonna have to try to run the ball, but Andy Reid never wants to run the ball ever. Like, it's just not in Andy Reid's scheme of things. And honestly, the one guy that does scare me is Pacheco.
Yeah.
I think he runs really hard, and he can change a game with some of like his violent runs, like the way he's running the ball. But the way Andy Reid is, I think they're going to come out early and they're just going to try to pass. They were saying earlier, like, if you had a quarterback who's hurt, like, the best thing that you can do is, get under center, hand the ball off, take a little bit of pressure off them. Last week, Andy Reid did the opposite. He was thinking, all right, if I want to help my quarterback, I'll just keep him in gun the whole game so he doesn't actually have to take a drop and he can just throw the ball. I mean, it's just, what you're going to get. We've seen Andy for so long, and, we've seen him in Kansas City for just as long, and all he does is he's going to throw the ball every single play. And I just think their receivers, they're not great receivers. Like not a single receiver on their team, take away the tight end, would be they would be a third string or a fourth string receiver on the Eagles. I mean, and our corners, they're Pro Bowl corners, having probably some of the best years of their career. They're having career years. I mean, I don't see the receivers as a threat. It's really just Kelsey and Pacheco. And Mahomes not being able to move as much, and I don't think his receivers are going to be as open as he's expecting them to be. I think it's going to be a real tough day for him, especially with the amount of pressure our Eagles defensive line has just given everybody. So,
Well, yeah, I agree. But, if there's a guy that's really good at getting balls in real tight windows, it's Mahomes. I expect to see a lot of screens, out of the backfield, tunnel screens, jet screens, shovel passes. I see a lot of little stuff that they're going to do before they hit, try to hit a receiver or tight end with the big play. Me personally, I see him throwing the football 45 to 50 times in this game. But
Wow,
then again, but
that's
here's the other
I
thing.
do too.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They're going to throw they're obviously going to throw the football a lot. And that, as you were saying, that Reed's really not going to change anything. But when you have a quarterback that has a high ankle sprain, when you have time off, like if the Eagles have a long suspended drive, let's say it's an 8-minute drive, you're sitting on the bench with a high ankle sprain. When you come back in, you're sore. So that could be a disadvantage for Kansas City. So the Eagles have a lot of things that are on their side in this game, especially when it comes to Mahomes. Jimmy, Jimmy, I'm going to give you this one. We talked about this today, Will and I. Do you think if Mahomes gets hurt and they have to go with Henny, do you think that the Eagles Gannon's going to change his scheme for that quarterback, or do you think he's going to stay the same way?
I think he would change his scheme personally, but I don't think anything's taking Mahomes out of this game.
No, I agree. No, I agree 100%. Now, let me throw this question. Let me go to Vahe on this one, because Vahe, you have experience with St. Joe's Prep. I'm not going to make a big deal about this.
No, you can.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm just going to bring this point up, okay? It's never been brought up in any of the other podcasts, but I have a little bit of experience because I covered high school football for about 10 years. Who would you rather have as your running back on this team, DeAndre Swift or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Never heard of the second guy.
You would no. Who would you?
DeAndre, obviously Swift. He's very
DeAndre
fast.
Swift. Okay,
We're very fast.
Okay, I'm just going to bring this up real quick. DeAndre Swift was the #1 rated running back coming out of college, and when Kansas City just won the Super Bowl that year,
I remember. I know where you're going with this conversation.
They had the 32nd pick in the draft, and they needed a running back because a running back that played in the Super Bowl, I think, was a free agent. He was signing somewhere else. Swift was the obvious pick. Reed did not pick Swift. He picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I guess the prevailing wisdom was that Swift gets hurt a lot and everything. But listen, this is where I'm going to leave this, okay? Andy Reid has some experience with St. Joe's Prep with his sons. He had one son that was a very good running back, but had the unfortunate luck of breaking his leg going from his, I believe it might have been a sophomore to his junior year, and he was probably going to be the bell cow come his senior year. You know what happened to him? Okay.
That was the year before Gary went there. I think it was a class of 2013, right?
Right, but he was no longer in the school. And then the other son, the one that had a couple of DUIs, he was associated with the program, but I don't think the prep principal really wanted him there. And then, make a long story short, I think the head coach of the program eventually ended up getting fired down the road. Like, I don't know about you, but I would have rather had
Gil. What was the guy's name?
Gil Brooks. Okay.
Gil Brooks.
But I would have rather had I mean, Swift is a great running back. Clyde Allaire played on that LSU team, and he was good receiver out of the backfield, but he's been a disappointment as a first round pick. And they say even if he's healthy, he's probably not going to play. Pacheco is going to be the number one running back on that team. So I just wanted to bring that point up, and I just feel like if Kansas City had Swift, he would have been a great player for them.
He would have been their Brian Westbrook.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt about it. And he's great out of the backfield. He has great hands out of the backfield. Good blocker, runs hard. I didn't.
I mean, one thing about, I mean, everybody praising for, Andy Reid, such a great guy, whatever, but he has a vindictive, part to him too. One thing that you didn't mention is basically, so his son, I think it was the second one, he wasn't starting and he got really annoyed and took him out of school. And he took him to what, the one in
Harrington. He went to Harrington High
exactly,
School. And he
yeah.
did good at Harrington.
Yeah.
And he's the real athlete in the family. And I think he's now strength and conditioning coach at one of the college programs. But I will tell you, I remember I saw him as a freshman and playing on St. Joe's Prep's freshman team against Father Judge's freshman team. He was good, man. I mean, he ran hard, that kid. And I really saw him as a big time high school player. But the unfortunate thing was that he broke his leg. And I might have been his arm. It was either his arm or his leg. And then it just things happened and he ended up not, with St. Joe's Prep after his junior year. But let's get off that situation now. Let's talk about the lines. Do you guys feel, I'll go to you. Do you guys feel that the Eagles have the advantage on the offense and or defensive line in this game?
If the Eagles win, Lane Johnson should be the MVP. That guy is amazing. And the fact that basically is playing with a torn adductor and he hasn't given up a sack or anything against the Jimmy, what was it, Nick Bosa. It's amazing. I mean, I won't even be able to walk, let alone play football. And this guy is like really, everybody keeps talking about Jalen Hurts, and obviously he's a quarterback and the leader, but the supporting cast makes his life easy too. There's no question about that.
The Eagles offensive line, I think, is just, over the last 3 years, they've been the best offensive line in the game. And this year it's no different. And I think the NFL and people around the NFL realize that too now, that this is the best offensive line in football. And the Chiefs, they got Jones you got to worry about, but they're so good and they're so well coached. I just don't think they're going to have any issues against the Chiefs. And I know that the Chiefs are ranked, at the bottom of the league in run, defending the run. And they're also in the bottom of the league in red zone defense.
Red zone defense, yeah.
I mean, like in the morning I was driving to work and they were talking about last night on Channel 10, right? They had that wasn't the ESPYs, that was the awards.
Yeah,
and Mahomes got like 49 first place votes and Jalen Hurts only got 1. And they were basically saying, well, it should be closer than that. Well, to be honest with you, I think the Eagles have an amazing line.
Yeah.
So and Jalen Hurts, I'm not saying he's not really, really good, but you cannot make him an MVP when you have an offensive line, which each one of them could be an MVP, right? Versus Patrick Mahomes. So I wasn't surprised that Patrick Mahomes won. And I'm kind of surprised that everybody's being shocked about it, that he won. The guy is like really amazing. If Patrick Mahomes was on the Eagles tomorrow, this game, the line would be like 10 or 11, or it would be amazing. There won't be even a competition.
Yeah.
I agree. I think another reason Mahomes deserved to win and what hurt Hurts is he missed those 2 games. If Hurts doesn't miss those 2 games, do you think he wins MVP then?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that what Mahomes did for that team.
I think Mahomes deserves. I do.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if him missing the 2 games, if it hurt him.
Yeah, but anytime a quarterback throws for over 40 touchdowns, you can almost lock it in. They're going to win MVP. That's just how it's been, in history. But I'm never I'm done saying Hurts is not good or he can't be good. I've lost that battle so many times already.
No, we're not saying that he's not good. What we're discussing the issue of the MVP, whether
Oh, yeah,
there
no, I
should be
know.
the won the most valuable player award. And I mean, even though I like the guy, I mean, I think he's a very good quarterback. But what Mahomes does for that team by himself is much more than what
Absolutely.
Jalen Hurts is doing for our team, right?
Yeah.
The line is -1.5 because of Mahomes and because of a bump ankle of Mahomes, right? So the Eagles have an amazing line.
I think that the one matchup to me that's going to be most important and everybody's going to be watching is Hassan Reddick lining up on the left outside against their least productive offensive lineman, Andrew Wiley, who is not as skilled as a lot of the other. They're going to have to put a second guy, I think, on Reddick in that game. But I'll tell you, Reddick could have a breakout game if all goes the way it's supposed to go. And on the other side of the coin, you got that Chris Jones who lines up everywhere. But I think for the most part, he's best lined up in the middle, and he'll probably be opposite of Landon Dickerson the majority of the time. So that'll be a great matchup. Chris Jones probably is the best defensive player on both teams. He's that good. So I heard on one of the podcasts today that the Chiefs probably have 3 of the 4 best players in this game: the quarterback, the tight end, and Chris Jones. But then maybe the next 7 or 8 players are Eagles players. So, I think the balance, the pendulum kind of falls more on the Eagles side than Kansas City side.
You
Well,
can name those 3 players, but I mean, if you go position by position, other than those 3 guys, the Eagles I would take over every single player on the Chiefs.
Wait a minute, Nick Bosa won the Defensive Player of the Year award, right? Last night.
Yeah,
But
he did. He
He
did.
did. But
He
he couldn't
did.
do shit against the Eagles.
I know. That's right. He didn't do anything, but he had 19 sacks during the season.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is basically maybe, the Chris Jones could be the best, but against our line, I mean, none of them have done anything.
I agree.
So I don't know why you think he's going to be able to do anything against our line.
Well, if there's anybody that can, it would be him. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Let's move real quick to the other side of the ball. I mean, do you guys feel that it's a clear advantage, the Eagles wide receivers against the Kansas City Chiefs defensive backs?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and here's a
Brown
nugget.
gonna have a big game.
Yes.
I
Well,
think he's gonna have a huge game.
yeah, here's a nugget for you too. Their best defensive back, L'Jarius Sneed, had a concussion in the AFC Championship game. He was cleared from the concussion, but he appeared in the injury report yesterday with the knee. So I'm sure he's going to play, but he doesn't sound like he's going to be 100%. And I think he's their best defensive back. And he's a guy that blitzes a lot. So I think that's something to look at also. Do you guys see Jalen Hurts having a lot of planned runs in this game?
Yeah, I do.
I think it's all going to depend how the defense plays. If they give him a chance to throw the ball, I think he's going to throw the ball. I think he's just going to see how things develop. So I don't know.
I think he does. I think they're just going to pull out all the tricks this week. They're holding nothing back. There's no game after this. This is what they played for. Ever since Sirianni, watered the flowers, they've gone 23-7. So I mean, this is it. This is the end of spring.
Honestly, if they do happen to win the Super Bowl, in his press conference, he should talk about how the plant rose.
You should have a plant sitting next to it.
I would not be surprised if he. But let's not go there. I know he's not thinking about anything but the game at this point.
I sent you guys a video maybe a half hour ago.
I saw it.
It's about 30 minutes long.
his
It's-
initial press conference, right?
No. Watch the whole video. It's about 28 minutes long. It's from basically Sirianni from when he first got hired to today. And it
How
came out
different.
maybe an hour ago. They released a video. It's great.
I saw the beginning of it when and I thought it was
Oh no, it's not.
yeah,
It's a
where he
whole
was so
video.
nervous and he was stuttering his words and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Keep watching. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Let me ask you a question, guys. How do you think the game is gonna be developing? The first half or first quarter?
I think the Eagles come out and take a lead early. And I think they make a few big plays on defense where they kind of, jump out in front of Kansas City. And then Kansas City is going to be trying to pass and pass. And then I want to say like the middle of the second quarter, the Eagles are just going to start, running it right down their throat. And you're going to see a lot of the ground and pound from the second, third, and fourth quarter. And I think Sanders is going to have another 2-touchdown game. And, we're going to rush for, we'll have like multiple rushers close to 100 yards, I think.
I think Gainwell's going to be amazing.
But I need a I need Gainwell. I think he's gonna have a good game.
You know what? I can see Gainwell getting a lot of touches in the second half if the Eagles are up. A fresh, Gainwell against that tired defense. I could see him just going nuts in that game. But the Eagles know that they got something now with him.
Yeah.
Which
You know
kind of
what?
makes Sanders expendable though after the season.
Yeah, I think Gainwell's your starting running back next year, right? I mean,
I really
unless
do like
Sanders
Sanders. He had a great year though, Jim.
unless he takes a team-friendly deal, I can't say then.
Which he
resign
might,
him.
because he
wants to
said
be here.
he said he really wants to be here. He said, "Please sign me." So I think he will do anything.
Well, that
Right.
hopefully he does then.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the 49ers? All the whining is going on.
Oh,
Come
Oh,
on,
they're such
Chill, man.
idiots.
It's over. They're still up to date. They're still whining and whining. I'm like, come on, man. It's over.
They
It's
all,
done.
they all want Kansas City to win that game too. They don't
Oh
want the
man,
Rams
big
guy
time.
team to win.
They're talking all this smack on Philly. We're trash and whatnot, and they go in the they're terrible. Every time there's an altercation after a game, they're stabbing fans or doing whatever to them. Like it's a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah. No, I
It's
agree.
a
Big
joke.
time.
All that crap they were talking about Philadelphia.
No. Yeah.
They
I agree
started-
100%.
They put the jersey on the Rocky statue.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. That's funny. So, but I think it's going to be like, you never know. Like, I think it's going to, do you guys think it's going to be a very big, like, watch the game? Do you think a lot of people around the world are going to watch this game?
Yeah, because of the curiosity. It's a closely matched game,
Yeah, and
and
the
everybody
quarterback.
wants to see who's this Jalen Hurts is, and they want to see how well Mahomes plays.
Yeah, 1 seed against 1 seed.
Yeah.
What are
yeah.
they?
Hurts,
Yeah,
Hurts versus Mahomes. I think they're gonna have a big audience.
32-6 between the two teams.
Yeah.
Their combined record, which is unbelievable. But here's another stat that I found very interesting. I think the Eagles were 2 in offense, 2 in defense. Kansas City was 1 in offense, in the middle of the road in defense. The Eagles in Kansas City are ranked 31st and 32nd in special teams. Kansas City's at the bottom of the barrel here.
And we are too.
You're right. You never know. You never know. This game could be decided on something on special teams. I mean, we always talk about, turnovers and if there's a big injury. But
I'm surprised they
special
didn't.
teams is something to watch.
Yeah.
For.
There was that guy, our punter. He was supposed to come off the injured reserve. They didn't take him
So
off.
he's not punting in this game.
Well, it's still on the injured reserve, right? They didn't activate
Talking
it.
about Sipos?
Yeah, Sipos, yeah.
I heard he's coming back.
I heard he was being activated for this
Yeah,
game.
that's what I heard too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
I mean, he sucks too, to be honest. I
Yeah,
mean,
but this guy sucks even more.
yeah, I mean, they both suck. What does it matter?
and I know that on the injury report they added Britton Covey. I know that don't mean a big deal to you guys, but he's got a hamstring issue. So I don't know if he's going to be returning punts. But then again, how many punts are going to be returned in this game?
They said
They're-
Devontae Smith's going to be the one returning punts if
Good. Good.
Yeah, if Covey can't play. I'll tell you, let's talk about Devontae Smith. You talk, and to me, you talk about a guy that has ice water in his veins. He plays big in big games. If there's anybody that is set for a game like this, it's Devontae Smith. He's going to want the football. That's just my opinion here.
Yeah, I
That-
told you guys before the season started that I think he's better than AJ Brown. And I'm telling you, as he keeps getting older, he's just going to be running more crisper routes, and he's like a flower. He's starting to blossom. It's so great.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, that catch, even though ended up not being catch.
That's a catch in my books.
Yeah, it is a
Well,
catch.
it was
But I
a
mean,
catch. It ended up
that
being
was
a catch.
amazing. The way he stretched his body and making sure his toes are right on the edge. I mean, guys, for a second-year guy, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I don't know. I mean, I also heard in one of the podcasts that the coaches were working extensively on third down situations on offense. I guess they're going to be in a lot of they feel that they're going to be in a lot of very interesting third down situations in this game. And, if you look at all the different weapons that the Eagles have, they probably have so many at their disposal. But, the one thing about being prepared for a game is you don't want to take too much into a game. You don't want, like, what was that book called? The Art of War. In that book, they say, don't take more into battle than you need. So it's the same thing that also applies to football, where you don't want to have way too many plays. You want to just have that, just the plays that you want to play. But I know that they were really working a lot on third down situations. So another interesting thing is I would love to be a fly on the wall when Sirianni talks the night before the game. Now,
Apparently, he's not going to talk.
well,
He's gonna let-
apparently, he's going to let the players get up and talk. Great move. Great move.
Could be.
Yeah, a lot of the players are going to get up and say something.
What makes like a lot of these great teams, it's not so much as, they just have all this talent. It's really how much the players like each other and like will play for each other. I mean, in big games like this, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to, like, do you have like the heart and to just keep, playing and playing and giving it your all, because nothing else matters. And if a team is so, together, I mean, that's what really makes some of these great teams, some of like the great dynasty teams. And if you look at the Eagles this year, they're not just a great team. Like some of these Super Bowl teams are just, they're great teams. But the Eagles this year, to me, they just feel like this historic team. Like some team you're gonna look back at and like, oh my God, they had this many players on their team at once. Like, how is this possible? And then you look at the numbers, and I mean, we killed Gannon all year, but my God, he's only given up 14 points in the playoffs, and I'm looking back at it, I don't even know how the heck we keep grilling Gannon, where week after week his defense has just been, ridiculous.
Today I was listening to, again, every time I'm in the car, I just listen to WIP. And I don't know if it was WIP or the other one. And they were saying that if this Sunday, the Eagles, they really trashed the Kansas City Chiefs, then they should be in the conversation for the greatest team of all time, even compared to the 1983 Sixers team, right? They lost only one game.
Yeah, the 85 Bears fall in that category.
Yeah,
too. They
I
were
mean, because
unbelievable.
the first two games, they just trashed the,
Yeah.
Giants and San Francisco. And if they do the same thing, then they should be one of the, considered one of the best.
Yeah,
That's
you got, go ahead, Will.
No, when we talked about, like, inside the trenches and these teams, you would look back at this Eagles offensive line, and it's just like, I can almost feel the entire offensive line, or at least half the offensive line, has a chance to be Hall of Famers. And then the defensive line, it's just like they had 70 something sacks. Like, how is that? Like, it's it's amazing what they're doing, and they're sending no extra guys. It's just 4 guys rushing the quarterback every single week, and we complain because we want, Gannon to blitz more, but it's like
You don't need to.
you don't need to, and it's almost like, wow, that's a good defensive line, but it's just like,
Yeah,
That was
Lindell
the-
Joseph and Stewart like their third string.
Yeah.
Look how deep
Yeah.
they are.
You remember
Yeah.
against San Francisco, the Eagles were like on the 2-yard line, remember? And everybody knew that they're going to basically run, just try to run
Quarterback
into the
sneak,
end
yeah.
zone, right? Touchdown, right? Everybody knows that, right? And they even lined up, San Francisco lined up that's the way basically to prevent them. And they still scored a touchdown. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
You know the play coming and you cannot do anything about it. It's not, there's no gimmicks. Like, exactly what they're going to do. and
I
you still
think
cannot
Kansas
stop.
City's just gonna, like, if it's 4th and 1 and they go for it, I think Kansas City's almost gonna let them have it. I just don't see them stopping it at all. So,
the defensive line is on a completely different level of just a good defensive line. Like, these guys are just historic. Like, what they've done, you can't doubt them at all. And games are won in the trenches, and championships are won with defense. And look at this game. I mean, I can't see it going any other way.
yeah. Now, here's a question for you. There's the guy that's going to have the most difficult job after this is all done is obviously Howie Roseman, because God, I don't know how many guys are free agents on that team. And there's a lot of guys, there's a few guys that he's obviously not going to be able to keep. They always talk, the one big name is Bradbury. Like, it's a 1-year deal. He's going to go somewhere else. He's helping them just for this year. Let's say Bradbury has 3 picks and one of them he returns for a touchdown in this game. Do they sign him to a long-term deal?
They only have $5 million under the cap. That's it.
Yeah, but they're right. But they got all these guys and the quarterback that they got to sign, who is going to probably be demanding at least 40 million a year, at least 40 million a year.
Mhm.
So it's just he's gonna have to be doing a lot of wheeling and dealing. But let's talk about a guy like Bradbury. If he has an amazing game, is he back in the conversation to be on this team next year?
No, I don't think so. I think he's going to go
yeah.
somewhere else. And
Well,
that's
and then you got, I think you don't think.
Didn't he say the other day like he would consider going back to the Giants?
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
I kind of
He
took
did.
that as like a slum. Like, damn, dude. Like,
Yeah.
well,
no,
I mean,
don't think he's back.
it's a business. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, he's not going to get the big money that he's expecting. So, if the Giants, I think people taking it out of context. What he's saying that, would you go back to the Giants? Probably he's going to say, yeah, if they pay me, I would go.
Yeah.
And I mean, for us, it's personal. For him, it's just a business.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
Hey, man.
but you also think about, some of the guys on this team that you don't think will be back next year. I don't think Kaiser White will be back. Now, I just heard that Epps.
Either
is
him
a-
or
I heard Epps is a free agent. I don't know if he'll be back.
so you
Brandon
think they
Graham,
signed
even
Eckler
Brandon
back
Graham.
Eckler?
Apparently his wife told him, listen, honey, I mean, the Eagles are not going to be able to pay you the money that you expect. He said, fine, I'll go play somewhere else.
I doubt it. I don't think. Now, personally, I think he plays his entire career with the Eagles. I could be wrong. I could be 100%
Would he
wrong.
play for minimum wage?
I don't know. And the same thing with Fletch. What are they going to do with him? I mean, like the last 2 years, he was hogwash on this team. He had a pretty good year this year. Was it because of the other guys that are on this team? Here's another one for you. Let's say that after, like, they win the Super Bowl and Ndamukong Suh just enjoys it so much, and he says, you know what? I think I got another year left in me. Do you see him coming back?
Yeah, I mean, he will only come back if he thinks they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I think he's not going to come just to,
After week 10, right?
yeah. He's going to say, okay, guys, I'm just retired until let me see how the wind is blowing, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this. I may have asked it on the last podcast, but with how many sacks this team has had, I know it's kind of a silly question. Do you think that if Derek Barnett was healthy all year, that he would have had a lot of sacks also? It's a good question. I mean,
I don't know. I just think Sweat's better.
yeah,
He's a better player. So you're gonna take snaps out of his hands anyway. And I don't know. Derek Barnett's just never been that type of player. When you knew Sweat showed it in the past, we know Hassan Reddick showed it in the past, and you know Hargrave showed it in the past. I mean, really, the only guy that you wanted to get over 10 sacks, but is also shown in the past is Brandon Graham. So, I mean, you put all these guys together, you kind of knew the production was there. You just had to put them in the right situations. But, you know, Barnett, he's never really been that sack guy, period. He's
Yeah,
just
disappointment.
hasn't been.
Yeah, more of a disappointment, but I'll tell you, this team's gonna look quite a bit different next year. I mean, do you guys agree? They're, I mean, they got 2 first-round draft picks. Now, they may trade one of them, who knows? But, and then there would be some free agent guys that are gonna want to play on this football team next year. You got Kelsey, is he gonna retire? Is Lane Johnson gonna stick around? So there's going to be a lot of question marks on this football team after this is done. That's why you really would like to see this bunch win this game, because we darn well know this is going to be nowhere near what the roster is going to be like next year. So I would like to, I'd like to see them.
The good thing is we know we're set at quarterback, and as long as you have a quarterback, you can win in this league,
Yeah, and it's amazing how all of us, and I was the only one kind of hanging in there with him, but I was really starting to have my doubts about him last year, that he was not the guy. I was really thought that after that Tampa Bay game last year that he was not a starting quarterback in this league. And boy, was I wrong. He really developed big time. And, I think his confidence is just over the top. And I know I've said this before, I maybe once or twice on this podcast, but when he was at Alabama, before he transferred to Oklahoma, he was a skinny running back that really didn't have that good of an arm as a freshman. And I think they won the national championship, and he seemed to be cocky. In his sophomore year, same thing. They were going all the way. And I believe it was in a national championship game where Alabama was losing. I think it was to Georgia. And he just wasn't moving the team. And they had Tua Tagovailoa back then as a freshman. And Saban put him in the fourth quarter to replace Hurts. And I remember it like it was yesterday. He comes in, throws 2 touchdown passes, and wins the game. And after the game, they had the spotlight on Hurts on the sideline watching that play. And as soon as that play went for a touchdown, he was the first. He didn't brood. He didn't sulk. He was the first guy that ran out on that field to congratulate Tua. I became a Jalen Hurts fan that day. And then on top of it, you could say that he actually stayed at Alabama another year, knowing that he wasn't going to be the starting quarterback. And then he actually replaces Tua when he was hurt in the SEC title game. And he threw 2 touchdown passes and won that game, and then sat out the playoff games. And then he transfers to Oklahoma and has a terrific year. So I became a Hurts fan the moment I saw him run out in the field. That just completely changed my attitude about him. So I know I'm going on a rant, but that's what I wanted to say about Jalen Hurts.
He said from day one, too, even when he came to training camp as a rookie, he was a natural leader. Like, all the veterans just gravitated toward him and had his back. And that pretty much, was the end of Wentz, that everybody says the beginning.
Well, I mean, yeah, because he sulked as soon as he got drafted, as soon as Hurts got drafted. I'm going to say this thing about Hurts also. If you guys get a chance, like when I watched that draft that year, and Hurts was drafted in the 2nd round, and they didn't think he was going to go until the 3rd or the 4th round. When they announced it, they show you Hurts at home, and I think his mother sitting next to him, and his brother was behind him, standing up on the couch. And I remember when they announced it, and you see him just watching it, he had that look on his face like, okay, I got work to do. And I'm going to get this done. He had that look of intensity on his face, and I liked it even then. So, I mean, listen, I've been a Hurts fan since he was a sophomore in college, and I really wish him nothing but the best. And I'd love to see him do a lot for this city for years to come.
Absolutely.
And I,
I've
yeah, go
always
ahead.
loved Hurts.
Who does?
I said I've always loved Hurts.
Yeah, I know. You know what? One of these days, I'm gonna put a podcast somewhere. I'll have a lot of the sayings of people. He's a bum. He's not a starting quarterback. He stinks. If I had his jersey, I'd burn it today. It's amazing how things
I
change.
burned his jersey 4 times this season.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
guys, let's go picks.
Yeah, let's go with the picks. Vaya, I guess I'll start with you.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I think this is going to be basically a touchdown or 2 touchdown games, favoring the Eagles. And I look back at the lines and they get, only 1.5. So I would say 34-30 Eagles.
Wow. Jimmy?
I got Chiefs 27, Eagles 30. I'm right around Baha'i.
Okay, yeah, I was worried there for a minute.
Well, no, I wanted to fake everybody out, but no, man.
27, okay.
I wanted to fake everybody out, but no, I think the Eagles win 30-27, and
That's a good
we'll
score.
be partying on Broad Street.
I hope so. What do you got, Will?
I just want to first start by saying that the playoffs, I have been the pick winner.
Twice.
Where it really mattered, my picks have won. So my one win during the regular season means nothing once the playoffs started.
I don't even remember that victory, but go ahead. That's okay.
Yeah, I see this. I don't see this being a game at all, to be honest. I think the Eagles win 37-10.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
The game's over at halftime?
Then
I think it's over at halftime. Yeah.
which almost was the case when they Kansas City lost to Tampa a few years ago.
Yeah.
I got the Eagles 37-23. And I see like Kansas City trying to make a late run. And I also see Mahomes throwing the football at least 45 times, at least in this game, if he can last the game. So
Who's the MVP? Jalen Hurts?
good question.
Hassan Reddick.
I like that. Will.
I like that too.
I like
it.
that.
I would pick him if he has. Listen, I think the last defensive player to get an MVP was Von Miller when Denver beat Carolina and Cam Newton. So I think that was the last time.
And you having the wide receiver as an MVP?
Yeah, Cooper Kupp won
Cooper
it.
Kupp. No, I'm saying a defensive player.
No, I'm asking isn't I was gonna pick Devontae Smith.
Yeah,
That's,
I love that too.
that's a good one too. What about like looking on the outside looking in, Kenny Gainwell?
I think Gainwell's gonna have a good game.
Sanders also.
I
Sanders could be the guy,
I
And-
just think they're set. The Eagles
Yeah.
are so loaded at every position, and Gainwell's really come out of nowhere. Like he had a so season, and the playoffs he's been great. He's been a
Yeah.
stud.
What
Yeah.
do you guys think Armin would say on the next pod if Fletcher Cox wins the MVP?
No, he can't win that.
He's not. Listen, it's not going to
Not the
happen.
MVP. He could. He could have like.
No.
No, it ain't
No.
going to happen. But you know what? You're right. He could probably.
I'm betting it now.
No, well, wait a minute. It's possible that he's just going to be so psyched because it could be his last game as an Eagle.
But he doesn't play that many snaps anyway. He only plays
Well-
like 30-40% of the snaps.
That's a lot. It's still a lot of snaps, though. So it's a decent amount of snaps. So I don't know. I will say this. I see Chris Jones getting doubled a lot, especially if he's on the inside. I think one of the most important jobs in this game is Jason Kelce. He's the guy that calls out the protections when he's looking at everybody. It's going to be a chess match, I think. I'll tell you, let me say this. Speaking of Spagnuolo, I think the chess match between Spagnuolo and Jason Kelce is going to be huge because it's going to be a battle the whole time. So that chess on turf is going to be in play here for most of the time. But you're right. I agree 100% that the Eagles have the beef on the offensive and the defensive line, and they should be able to run the ball successfully. They should be able to throw the ball successfully. So, we'll see what happens. So Any last minute thoughts before we wrap this up? We've been on about an hour already, believe it or
Yeah, get ready for those greased poles in Philadelphia.
not. Yeah, I won't be going up any of them. Don't worry about it. So any last minute thoughts before we wrap it up?
Let's win this thing.
Yes. Yep. And hopefully we got one more good podcast in us for the year. So hopefully it'll be a good one. So, all right, that'll wrap it up. Thanks again for listening and watching. Anybody, the two people that actually watch us or listen to us on Spotify, Flying with the Birds, Philadelphia Eagles talk. See
Later,
ya.
guys.
Yeah.